hope everything is well. Everything is good with me. Y'all, I want to talk about this story with his name is Jackson Stacker. It happened in it happened in the UK. It's in how you say the name? Byron Bay. It's called Byron Bay. And he was an outgoing young man, and he had a van. So, he's young. He liked to go to different parts of the world and just, you know, have a good time. So he was at this rave, I guess it's called a rave, where, everybody get high and just dancing and dancing and dancing. So, excuse me, he was at this rave, and he did smoke some weed, and they did say he did some LSD. But this story got me crazy because it's not making any sense to me. Everybody liked it, Jackson. Like I said, his name is Jackson Stacker. Everybody liked it, Jackson. He was fun. He just was a good person around. He liked to make jokes, you know what I'm saying? He liked to have fun, you know what I'm saying? Even though, mad people smoke weed, he just did a little extra. He did a little LSD. And they said, like, I don't know if they were trying to make excuses, because it seems like, when you go see a psychiatrist or whatever like that, they really, like, make it seem like you're crazy. That it could, it doesn't have to be the case. Anything or anyone can go see a psychiatrist about anything. It could be anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know if he had a trauma in his life or whatever. But anyway, they was talking to his parents, and they was like, Jackson, he committed suicide. Y'all, I'm confused. I feel like there's no way that Jackson could have hurt himself. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't. I'm finding it hard to believe this. Y'all in the comments tell me that, can this happen? You know what I'm saying? I want you really to think, can this happen to somebody? And they saying this here, excuse me, y'all. They're saying this to me to try to, not cover it up, just make it make sense. But it's not making sense to me, because they said Jackson was found in the woods. And they said, before I even get to that, let me just say this here. They said that Jackson, when he was traveling in the van, we're gonna talk about the day before he passed away. He was Googling on, he was on his phone on the internet, but he was doing like what me and you do. Look at the internet, nothing strange. He never Googled nothing crazy. They said he did Google the time, and I think he set the time, to wake up in the morning, because like I told you, he drives around in a van. You know what I'm saying? So he going all over the place. Matter of fact, he was getting ready. He had set the clock for like 7 something because he was going back to Queensland. Okay, so now that next day, his body is found. He has a hunting knife in his chest, and his head is not with his body. His head is like over there. So how in the hell can you tell me that this is suicide? There's no way, y'all, this could be a suicide. I cannot picture this here. What did he do? Knifed himself and then cut off his head? Or did he cut off his head, then knifed himself? And they never said that, an animal, could have took his head and did whatever, if the animal took his head, he took his head for a reason, to eat it, what I'm saying, like Norin. And they never said, like, for you to get somebody's head off, what I'm saying, an animal to get somebody's head off, you would have to be Norin. Like, seriously, y'all, like, I know this is gross, I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm just trying to make this make sense. You would have to gnaw your way to get the head off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. They could see when he goes to the coroner, you could see if his head was cut off, or you could see his head was, like if you use a saw, you could tell saw marks, or you could tell if it was animal marks. You understand? You could see it because they would have to keep biting to get your head off, to clear off your head, like for real. So that's the part I'm confused at. Like, how could they try to keep saying that this was, a suicide? Like, how? There's no way. He had a whole knife in his chest. You understand? He did nothing different. He did nothing different. You think that he would actually go on his phone and put the alarm on for him to get up in the morning to go to Queensland? No. That's impossible. This is impossible, y'all. I'm sorry. I just think, like, I don't know what they trying to pull, but there's no way this man's head is off and his head is over there and his body is over here. You understand what I'm saying to you? If it was an animal that did it, you would know it was an animal. And I really think, like, when he got knifed in the chest, it was a honey knife. When he got knifed in the chest, the animal do smell the blood, and that's what they would go for. You know what I'm saying? I doubt if they think that they're gonna go for your neck, because they're gonna go where the blood is at. You know what I'm saying? Because they smell the blood, but they never mention an animal. So this got me kind of weird. Like, like, y'all tell me in the comments, like, can that happen? Like, can your head be over there and your body be over here with a big old hunting knife in it, and they calling it suicide? How? What part of this am I missing? Or they got to make it make sense to me, because this is very sad. This is very, very sad, y'all. Like, I mean, he was an outgoing young man. Jackson was, he was living his best life. You know what I mean? And like I said, he wasn't on the internet looking up nothing crazy, or, doing it. He wasn't. So what? He was smoking weed, you know what I'm saying? He was smoking weed and he did a little whatever. That don't make you crazy. What is going on? Then they try to look back at his history and, as he grew up, he did, that's what they said. They said, he would, 1 minute be up, 1 minute be down. He would cry, like, unconsolably, like, cry for no reason. That's not gonna get it, y'all. Because guess what? I'm like that. I be up sometimes I be down. Sometimes I cry for no reason. It's not no reason. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they don't know the reason why they're crying, because I'm just gonna let y'all know. When I cry, it's a reason why I cry, but I may just start crying out of nowhere, and it's trauma. You know what I'm saying? Something could have happened to Jackson, and when your feelings, when you get in your feelings, it makes you cry. Is something wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's nothing wrong with that. So people feel like if you go see a psychiatrist, you just crazy. That's dumb. That is totally dumb. And this what made me upset about this here, because they was just like, oh, he go see a psychiatrist, 1 minute he up, 1 minute he down, till he may cry, just, so what? I do that. I cry sometimes just for no reason. I mean, it's not no reason. It's no reason to you, because it's me. And that's him. You don't know what he's been through. You don't know what he's thinking about. You know what I'm saying? When I cry sometimes, I think about my kids, you know what I'm saying? They're not here with me. They're gone. I cry, sometimes. And that don't make me crazy. I'm just missing my kids. And or some type of trauma could have happened to Jackson. And when he think about it, he can cry. There's nothing wrong with that. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with you. So all the time you're supposed to be up and up and up and up and up, and then when you finally like get to go down, that's different. No, I think everybody in the world be like that. Like 1 minute you like you cool, the next minute you just want to chill. So that's what's getting me upset about this here. How they coming down on my boy because I think they was trying to make excuses to the parents, how Jackson was found. Like I said, his head was there, and he had a hunting knife in his chest. So they're saying suicide. Y'all tell me, like, how? How? I know when you have a chicken and you cut the chicken head off, the chickens do be moving. But I don't think that's the same for the human. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not understanding it. Because like I said, if they would have said that, it was animal marks to him and they took his head, that's different. But why would he set the clock for 7:30 to go to Queensland? Why would he set the clock to get up in the morning, y'all? You wouldn't care. He went online, he was looking at regular schmegular stuff. Like, it wasn't nothing weird he was looking at. He was just looking at the internet like we look at the internet. So anyway, y'all, I want y'all to see this here, and y'all tell me in the comments, like, am I tripping, or is this story just crazy as hell? Alright, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all see the video. Alright? I can't use this here. Y'all, hold on.
A rave or doof in the bush. It's high energy and high fun. A celebration of free spirits, dancing and living to the same beat. The tragedy is not far away. One of these revelers will soon die. In circumstances so mysterious, the manner and cause of death will have to be determined by a coroner. I'd imagine this is a bit of a sacred place for you. What is it like to come back?
It's quite sad. It's quite emotional.
This lonely place, 2 hours from the doof party, is where 25-year-old Jackson Stacker, once so full of life, lost his on July 23rd, 2021. His mother, Sandy McFarlane, is making a heart-wrenching return.
It's where the mystery starts and, where his life stopped.
Jackson's badly decomposed body was found under this tree, 120 metres from this Pacific Highway rest stop and 25 minutes north of Byron Bay. The scene that awaited police was distressing. Jackson had a 30-centimetre hunting knife protruding from his chest. His skull had been separated from his body and was found 13 metres away.
I was so confused. What do you mean it's our son?
It's been a heartbreaking and confounding 3 years for Sandy and Jackson's dad, Ian. They're on a mission to find out why their son died so violently, questioning the police investigation, all the while grieving the loss of their beautiful boy.
People go through this every day, don't they? And until you have it happen to you, you totally have a different perspective for the rest of your life. on these things, so
Well, the rest of your life has changed
yeah, that's
in
it.
that moment.
It's, you see the world differently. Every news story, everything that happens, you have a totally different perspective on it, and it's all due to the pain that you're suffering by losing a child.
Ian and Sandy are critical of police for initially suspecting Jackson had taken his own life, despite the huge hunting knife in his chest. On further investigation, police did reconsider his death as suspicious, but Ian and Sandy fear the suicide theory coloured the police approach, as did the way Jackson was profiled.
Their assessment of him was that he was a homeless, alcoholic, drug user that they've just found in the paddock. All right, that assessment was made pretty quickly. He was none of those things, and he was undervalued as a human being because of how he was found. And I think the feeling was, well, we'll just tick this off as a suicide. Just a knife in the chest, I think, suggests that perhaps it wasn't a suicide.
Nothing made sense. I spoke to him the last day he was alive and he was fine.
Jackson Stacker grew up in Melbourne and, like many in their 20s, just wanted to travel. In early 2021, taking on the east coast of Australia in his van, he landed in Byron Bay, seemingly the perfect place in his soul-searching journey.
I just remember someone really looking forward to just going off on an adventure, which is what it was meant to be.
And seeking a different type of lifestyle, right?
Yeah. He just saw the world a bit differently. He was not materialistic, although he wasted money on some crazy jackets sometimes. It's hard to understand what he was doing there, but he was off on this mission. And I felt great, go and have a ball.
Jackson certainly looked like he was. A month before his death, he sent his mum this reassurance.
His message to me was, "Mum, I'm so great. I've never been happier. I'm hanging out with a lot of really beautiful, intelligent people. He was great. Fantastic, no problem."
Life was blissful, with many hours spent with fellow travellers at Byron's main beach.
They were just having a good time, having a beer and just chilling out, or sitting on their roofs and just, listening, playing music and surfing, watching the sunset.
But in the last 4 weeks of his life, something had changed.
He wasn't always happy here, was he? Like, there are moments that have been recounted where he got really upset.
I think he was feeling used by certain people that were borrowing his van.
Friends say Jackson's emotional ups and downs came with drug taking, LSD and marijuana. But his parents fear he was running with the wrong crowd. Criminals and drug users who make up part of the vast homeless community sleeping rough around Byron. And they believe it's possible someone from that circle had something to do with Jackson's death.
Just came across to us that there's other possibilities of what could have happened here.
So what could that something else be?
We think that perhaps he got involved with, at this doof, someone in the drug trade that left some stuff in his van. Jackson left that doof prematurely and left behind a few people that he transported there. Just the way that his van was found, it was totally trashed. It was like it had been strip searched.
Ian and Sandy believe Jackson's ransacked van is evidence of foul play, not suicide. It was found at the Sleepy Hollow rest stop, just 120 metres away from where Jackson's body would be discovered. So what are you suggesting then? That this was some sort of revenge, retribution?
No, we think there's been an altercation between him and these people. And I don't know what the altercation was or how it could possibly end up in him in a field with a knife in his chest.
Everything was so violent. Like, the van is not just messy, it's destroyed. They've taken cushion covers off the cushions that made up the bed. They've broken the foam.
But the police say there's no evidence of actual violence within the van.
No.
We don't think it was violence in the van, but we think someone's been in there looking for something.
Back at Sleepy Hollow, Sandy steps out what could have led Jackson from the safety of the van to the scene of his death.
If it was homicide, how do you believe he got there? What happened?
I believe he would have been chased there.
So it jumped the fence, went through the creek, running.
If he was in a panic, you know, like he wouldn't like a confrontation. And I think that he was running.
Adding to this mystery is Jackson's missing phone. Despite multiple searches of the paddock where he died, it's never been found. So imagine our shock when we stumbled across a half-buried phone within eyesight of where Jackson's body was discovered. Traipsing through wet undergrowth in the Byron Bay hinterland, seeking answers to the unexplained stabbing death of Jackson Stacker, we did not expect to become part of the story. But we've had to call in Byron Police after our producer stumbled across a semi-buried phone in the vicinity of where Jackson's body was found with a knife in his chest. It's an incredible find given this area has been scoured multiple times by police. More so, it's incredibly significant to Jackson's parents, Sandy and Ian.
The phone is, to us, a pretty important piece of information.
While we don't yet know if this is Jackson's phone, his parents believe his phone is a key piece of this puzzle. They say Jackson was tethered to his Samsung, yet it was not found on him. Intriguingly, a week after he died in 2021, it rebooted 200 kilometres away near Grafton. For the next 4 days, it connected with various cell towers before returning to the Byron area where it stopped pinging on August 2nd. For Ian and Sandy, this means someone had taken Jackson's phone. Evidence to them he was not alone when he died, which they say suggests his death was not suicide.
If it was with him, then someone else was there because the phone moved. If it wasn't with him, then who took it?
It does your head in, doesn't it?
It does your head in, yes.
But there is another view. We've asked former homicide detective Gary Jubelin to help decipher the case. When contemplating the question of whether Jackson took his own life or not, the common response seems to be, but he wouldn't have done it there in the open and he wouldn't have done it with a knife.
Yeah,
Do you understand that response?
I do understand the response, especially people close to him, people that know him. But what I've learned through my career in homicide was that you're trying to put rational thoughts to an irrational action.
In their investigation, police found that near the end of his life, Jackson was suffering mood swings and displayed erratic behaviour. According to his friends at the time, Jackson was smoking marijuana and taking LSD, which was having a devastating emotional impact. Mentally unstable, acting strange, wanted to cut himself, crying uncontrollably, is how some friends describe Jackson in the last weeks of his life. How much store do you put by the people who say he was suicidal, that say that he talked about wanting to kill himself?
Not that much, because Jackson had no filter. He would tell me if that was something that he was feeling. He'd never actually ever mentioned suicide to me.
And he'd spoken people out of, suicide. He talked them out of it, and he didn't see it as a good option.
Jackson had been hospitalised in the past, treated for drug-fueled psychosis after bad reactions to mind-altering substances.
I don't think it's uncommon for people to get to a sad state. I think it's pretty uncommon for them to whack a knife in their chest, though, when they're in that state. And again, keep getting back to it doesn't make sense.
But do you accept that if you're taking LSD, that what happens next
Yes.
can be unpredictable?
Yeah, absolutely, I can.
And not make sense.
Yeah, I can.
But while Jackson's fragile frame of mind in the days before he died may be suggestive of suicide, his actions were not. He had told family and friends he was heading to Queensland and collected his tools to take with him. While it's unknown where he spent the night before his death, phone records showed his internet use was typical. They also revealed the very last time he used his phone to check the clock app at 7:40 a.m. on Friday the 23rd of July, the day it's believed he died.
Like his YouTube was absolutely normal to what he did any other night. You know, if there was, something erratic going on there, you could accept it a bit more. But
If he'd left a note, we would find solace in that.
It was very horrific for me. I think that's one of the worst ways that you can go. I mean, being stabbed to death and your body led to rot under a tree in a cow paddock by the side of a highway. It's pretty horrific. I straight away thought it was murder. That was first thought my mind went to.
Ishtar Kenny knows the area. She was born and bred in Byron. She believes it's conceivable that her cousin Jackson fell victim to its seedy underbelly.
I mean, I've heard of different things going on in Byron in the last few years where, other young people have been very afraid because they've been involved in something they didn't realise what it was, and then they've been threatened or stuff like that. So I know it can happen. I know it can happen in that area as well.
This is a pretty confronting place to come, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see how it'd be difficult navigating your way through here.
Former homicide detective Gary Jubilan and I are retracing Jackson's presumed last steps. The troubling question for his parents is, if he took his own life, why would he stab himself? Statistically, one of the rarest ways to suicide. A question amongst many they fear police have not sufficiently investigated.
So when you look at the report, when you look at this place, do you think police approached it with the right mindset, right level of suspicion, and carried out their investigation thoroughly?
I've got to say yes, Tara. Looking at the brief of evidence being presented by the police on this occasion, it was a thorough brief of evidence.
But Sandy and Ian's fear things were not done properly was acutely realised when Sandy made an incredible discovery while visiting the scene where Jackson died.
I actually found a tooth that turned out, after forensically tested, was my son's tooth.
Can you believe that?
No.
What are the chances?
Yeah. There was a lot of emotion about that. It was, this is my son, this is a part of him that still remains here at that site. And then I was angry. Why is this at the site? Why was it not found? Why, what else is missing of my son's body?
Anyone would be angry. Despite this area being searched by police multiple times, Sandy's extraordinary find led to another line search a year after Jackson's death, which uncovered 3 of his finger bones. No wonder Sandy and Ian feel police have done a half-hearted job. But Gary Jubilan is more forgiving.
The first thing I want to have done is to make sure the crime scene is properly examined. I think that's what they have done.
Even though Mum finds Jackson's tooth months later.
Yeah, I don't want to be overly critical because we're talking a tooth in bushland like this. Things do get missed. It's not an ideal situation.
But then also 3 finger bones were then found subsequently to that discovery.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't look great.
It doesn't look great, and I think the police would be feeling bad about that. And I've been involved in numerous searches for remains, and it is very difficult, and things can get missed.
Sandy also describes the scene as a violent one, that Jackson's scalp was found 13 metres away from the rest of his body. Is that something that should be of concern, raises flags?
It is horrific when you think the skull is 13 metres from the skeletal remains and other body parts. unfortunately, that's nature at work. There's a lot of animals around here, and I don't find it unusual.
On his evaluation of the case, Gary says police could find no evidence Jackson died at the hand of someone else. But nor is there certainty Jackson's death was self-inflicted. It will be up to the coroner, who is yet to determine Jackson's manner and cause of death, to announce her findings, which are expected sometime in the coming weeks. Can you imagine any family being completely happy with an investigation of this type?
Having worked homicide as long as I did, it's such a difficult area. There's a lot of emotions attached to it. It's not something you can look at clinically and separate emotion. There is emotion involved. But any suspicious death should be treated as a homicide until you can prove otherwise. And looking at the steps that the police have taken during the course of this investigation, I think from a very early stage, they were looking at it as a potential homicide.
It may be 3 years since the death of Jackson, but underlying their day-to-day lives, Ian and Sandy continue to hunt for truth and certainty. Whether it was suicide or murder, it's the not knowing that torments these grieving parents.
What would he want? What would Jackson want? That is what I ask myself every day. What would he want? He would want us to be happy. And we'd like to find his truth, because that will make us happy.